Hey Business Warriors, Business Shifu here, and today we are going to look at a load of inspirational quotes to do with money, entrepreneurship, investing, etc. Now, some of these quotes come from an article, the 100 best money-related quotes from Forbes. I'll put the link to that at the bottom of this video in a pinned comment. Also, one or two of them come from this book, Money Master the Game, by Tony Robbins. Great book. I'll put a link to that on Amazon as well down below if you are interested in that book. But first of all, let's get started. So our first quote comes from none other than the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. "I will tell you the secret to getting rich on Wall Street. You try to be greedy when others are fearful, and you try to be fearful when others are greedy." So that basically just sums up the principles of contrarian investing, okay? So to be a contrarian, it means to do what others do not do, to go kind of against the grain, against the curve, right? So when others are getting greedy, i.e. when the market is hitting historic highs and other people think it's going to go higher and they just buy, everyone's buying and driving the price up, that's when you're fearful, okay? And you may choose to sell some of your investments at that time to free up some cash, so that when the market does crash and everyone else is panicking and they're panic selling and stuff and they're driving the prices down, stocks become on sale, you've got enough cash that you can buy significant amounts of that, okay? So he's basically talking about the principles of contrarian investing. Next, we have a quote from Dave Ramsey, who you might have seen the Dave Ramsey show. He's someone who has a little bit of different ideas than me around credit, etc., but he does have some good financial wisdom. So let's check this out. "You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you." And I think this quote has a lot of truth to it, okay? So people who are living paycheck to paycheck, basically their life is dictated by their money, okay? Whether they can or cannot do certain things. I'll give you an example of myself. A few years ago when I was just starting out with this YouTube channel, I didn't have much money, and basically I had to go and get a part-time job. I worked in the evenings at Trader Joe's. Okay, great job by the way, but I didn't really want to do a part-time job, but it was basically, the decision was made for me because I simply did not have enough money to maintain this house and etc. Without doing that. So I was forced to get a part-time job, all right? I didn't want to do that, but the decision was made for me. Likewise, if you just don't have much money, that's going to control your decisions in life. Whereas if you have a lot of money, the freedom to do whatever you want, you can actually make a decision what to do based on what you genuinely want to do. If you don't want to work, you don't have to. If you want to work, you could choose to do something that is in line with your beliefs, work on a passion project or philanthropy or just a job, but a job that doesn't give you as much money, but it gives you a lot of job satisfaction, okay? So you can choose. So that's really the power of having a lot of money. It has freedom, okay? And if you don't have that money, if you don't have that much money that gives you freedom, your money will forever control you, okay? It'll dictate what you do in life. So our next quote is from Oprah Winfrey, who I think needs no introduction. I'm sure everyone knows Oprah Winfrey. Check this out. "Do the one thing you think you cannot do. Fail at it, try again. Do better the second time. The only people who never tumble are those who never mount the high wire. This is your moment, own it." So basically what she's talking about there is that people who don't fall, all right, people who don't tumble are people who don't try to, she calls it mount the high wire, right, get on a tightrope. You could equally say, the only people who don't fall down the mountain are the people who don't even try to climb the mountain, all right? So it's the same kind of analogy, right? Being an entrepreneur, you have to actually try something, perhaps fail at it, take a fall, try again. Next time you'll climb up high, you'll have some more success before you fall, and eventually you will succeed. So it's about having, being daring and being actually able to try things, and don't be afraid to fall, basically. You will succeed. And that brings us nicely into our next quote, which is from George Soros, the investor, hedge fund manager, etc. Soros is a bit of a controversial figure because of some of the organizations that he funds. I don't really agree with them, but he is, a very experienced investor, so I'm including this quote from him here, and it's kind of linked to what Oprah said, so let's check it out. "I'm only rich because I know when I'm wrong. I basically have survived by recognizing my mistakes." And I think it's very important. So a lot of entrepreneurs and business people just focus on when they do well, and they think, why did we do well, etc. But they don't think about when they were wrong. They don't choose to examine their mistakes, learn from it so it doesn't happen again. It doesn't set them back in the future. And he said he's only survived by recognizing his mistakes. So that's what you've got to do as an entrepreneur in business. You have to recognize when you made a mistake and then alter your plan in the future to accommodate for that. Our next quote is from Henry Ford, obviously the founder of the Ford Motor Company and a hugely successful businessman. Let's take a look at this. It's not the employer who pays the wages. Employers only handle the money. It's the customer who pays the wages. So what this means is obviously the employer does physically pay the wages. I mean, he hands them the checks, but the money that pays those wages, ultimately it comes from the customer. It flows through the employer's business. Part of it gets diverted to paying expenses, paying rents, paying other things, dividends to shareholders, etc. But a part of it ultimately just flows through the business and gets paid out as wages. So that really comes from the customer. So you have to keep your customer happy in order for them to pay your employees wages, which you owe, okay? So very important concept there. So it pays to think of those wages being paid by the customer rather than by you. Next, we have a quote from Donald Trump, obviously before his presidential era, etc. So this is Donald Trump, the businessman. As long as you're going to be thinking anyway, think big. And I think this is a good quote because many entrepreneurs often don't think big enough, okay? Often they're happy with that bit of money that they're getting and, they don't let their business expand. Sometimes when you think big, you have to take losses in the short term. So you have to take less money out of your business in order to invest enough money so that you can grow it, okay, and really scale it huge. If you think big and you don't quite achieve all of it, but you achieve some of it, you'll already be bigger than you were at the beginning. So you'll already be making progress. So thinking big is really important. And you can also see this trait in people like Elon Musk. Like, who would have thought that he could create a company that's literally sending astronauts to space, or a company that's making over 400,000 electric vehicles per year? He obviously was thinking big, and he perhaps was thinking even bigger, but if he achieves even some of that, it's already huge. So, it's definitely a good mindset to have. Lastly, we have a quote from Richard Branson, the British billionaire, founder of Virgin Group that owns, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Trains, all sorts of different businesses, okay? And he said, "One of the most important phrases in my life is protect the downside." So when you're doing business and you're making money, you do also have to protect what we call protect your downside, which means basically looking at ways to cut your losses so that your losses won't be so big in the bad years, okay? For example, if you rely on one huge client, right, and that client suddenly decides to go with someone else, right, to use some other company to produce that product or do that service, you would be taking a massive loss. So you need ways to kind of counter that. In my business, doing YouTube videos, we do this by having multiple streams of income, okay? We don't just rely on YouTube for money. We sell items, we have affiliate deals, we have all this other kind of stuff. A stock market trader would cover their downside, protect their downside by using stop loss orders so that, if that trade dropped a certain amount, it would automatically sell. So they would lose, but they wouldn't lose as much. And then when they win, they just let it, the profits roll in. They don't, So protecting your downside is very important. In addition to focusing on your upside, okay? And I think that's a nice place to end it. Guys, if you want to read any more of these quotes, you can check out the article in Forbes in the link below. You can also check out the link to this book on Amazon.com. A few of them came from this book. I haven't finished reading it yet. It's actually, this is one of the best sort of finance books and stuff that's been written recently. Obviously, the classic one is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. But I've read that one already. But anyway, I've been reading this recently, so I'll probably use some info from this for some video ideas in the near future. Please leave your comment, what you think. As always, please subscribe to The Business Shifu. We'll be doing at least one video a week. That's what we're going to be aiming for and building this channel in the weeks and months to come. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hindsight is fleeting when your heart's bleeding and all you can see is red, till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then what I know